Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back for another video. Today we are going to talk about Bitcoin. Are we entering a bear market? As always, a free way you can support this channel. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section. But let's go ahead and dive right in because that is the question of the day. Are we about to enter a Bitcoin bear market? And so there's so many different answers to this question. I hate to say it, it's complicated. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is what do I even mean by a bear market? Because back in May, May to July, I described this as a bear market. We were in a bear market. Were we in the bear market? No. And I was very clear that I thought we were in a bear market, but not the bear market. And I remember even messaging my patrons back when I had a Patreon account. And I said, it's going to take some time. It's going to take a few months for this to shake out. There was a whole lot of fear, a lot of FUD with Tesla, with China. And I thought personally that even just the HR issues with institutional adoption of Bitcoin, it was just going to take some time to cool off. Because Tesla, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, Tesla is not accepting Bitcoin for their payments. And you have, I could just picture an institution wanting to get in, but there being HR issues with that. And so I just felt like we just needed some time to cool off, to let the dust settle before we climbed back higher. And that's what we did. It was about 3 months. And so that was a bear market. That was not the bear market. So are we going to something like that? Are we going to the bear market? Are we going to something less severe than what happened May to July? Those are the questions we need to answer. I don't have all of the answer. I have information that, if you take this information and make your own decisions, I think that's a good idea. And so looking at where we are now, there are certain things that I just, this week, I want to see what happens, but not only this week. We have the FOMC meeting on the 13th and 14th, I believe, either 13th or 14th or 14th or 15th. I'm blanking on that right now. But there are a few other factors that this week is just a big week to try to figure out where are we and where are we going. And so, we got below the bull market support band. I talked about that last week. I thought the chances were low, but then we had that large liquidation event, which, believe it or not, makes me I'm less fearful now than I was at this time last week, because we had that cloud hanging over us of all this open interest, all these people longing Bitcoin, and those people have been flushed out. We're in a much healthier position now. And really now the only thing that I'm wondering is all right, what's the Fed going to do next week? But we had that flush out. Now we're below the bull market support band. But the timing of this flush out is what is really interesting, because back in May, when we got flushed out, I don't remember what day of the week that was. I think it was like a Tuesday or something. It was during the week. And so there was no CME futures to consider. There was nothing other than, all right, this is where we are right now, and it stinks, but this is where we are. We have right now a CME futures gap that is above the bull market support band at $53,400, which if we got back there, we filled that gap like we do a large majority of the time, then that means that we're above the bull market support band, and maybe we'll hold that as resistance or as support before moving higher. So there's that question in mind. But we need this week. A 1 week close below the bull market support band, given the timing, the fact that it happened on a Friday night after the futures market closed, is not enough for me to declare, yes, we are in a bear market. 1 more week. Let's figure this out. Let's see where we are, and then we'll go from there. Maybe we fill that gap. Maybe we go higher. I don't want to scare you too much. But there is one thing that I'm considering right now, and that is maybe a micro bear market. Maybe this was a mini bear market. That's what I called it, a mini bear market between May and July. Maybe we'll have a micro bear market. Here's what I'm thinking. So let's look at these previous liquidation events. On May 16th, we had this liquidation event that took us down very quickly to 29,000. 29 and change dollars for Bitcoin. And then, yeah, we bounced back up, but we, over a span of 3 months, we got down a little bit lower in June. And then on July 20th, we had that bottom before shooting up higher. We eventually made our way back down to that liquidation bottom price. And then in September, the same thing happened. We went from 53,000 to 43,000 in one day. And yeah, we bounced back, but then we made our way back down again to that liquidation point, even lower than that liquidation point. And so I'm wondering, I am not married to this idea. This whole thing might just be a massive fake out, but this is something I'm keeping in mind. We could do something similar. We could do something similar where, we're climbing a little bit. All right, we're above $49,000. We were at lower 47s overnight. And so maybe we're doing something similar. We're just going to, over a span of a few days or a couple of weeks, something like that, make our way back down to this $42,000 level and maybe even a little lower than that before shooting up higher. That is a possibility that I'm considering. And if that takes days or weeks, all right, that is a mini bear market or a micro bear market. And I do want to say, yeah, more so micro than mini. Like the direction that I'm leaning towards right now is not a 3-month mini bear market, but if we are going to face some kind of a bear moment, that it would be weeks. And so I want to compare that to the coronavirus dump because we consider this a V-shaped recovery. Now pay attention to the fact that this is a weekly chart, okay? This is a weekly chart, but we were above the bull market support band. I mean, we were ranging. So it's a little bit different. We spent time above, spent time below, above, below, et cetera. But, a few weeks above before that big dump. And then, we remember this as a V-shaped recovery, but look at how long it took. 1 week, 2 week, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks before we got back above that bull market support band. Now, the difference between then and where we are now is that we were so far below. I mean, this is a mini version of what that was. I mean, we went down to about $3,000, we're a little under $4,000. And every week, even though that was rough, every week we just climbed back. We climbed further back. So if we're going to face something similar this time around, maybe it's just, over a matter of weeks that we climb back. A lot of people are comparing this to the coronavirus dump. And so what kind of climbing back does that look like? That means we never go back to the $42,000 range. We just keep on climbing slowly but surely every week or even every day. And then within a few days, we're back above this bull market support band, ready to go higher. So it's a matter of the length of time. One thing that I will continue to say is this is not, in my opinion, the bear market. But with that, I know that I'm introducing a lot of variables here. With that in mind, I don't think that now is a good time to be buying altcoins. Don't buy this dip. Not financial advice. Do your own research, because what if we do go back to $42,000 or maybe even a little lower before bouncing higher? What you're going to find is that altcoins will be at a pretty hefty discount. We're seeing that already. Bitcoin is pretty much ranging, but we're seeing a lot of bleeding from a lot of altcoins. I mean, Solana's doing okay, but Polkadot's bleeding, Internet Computer, a lot of these, Cardano, a lot of them are really struggling, including Litecoin. I know. What's the thing that I constantly say about Litecoin? Once Bitcoin crosses its all-time high, Litecoin's going to shoot off like crazy. Cross its all-time high, hold it. We've seen pictures of that. So it's one of these things. When should you buy back in? Don't buy this dip. Don't buy it where it is now, in my opinion, not financial advice. When do you buy it? Well, one of two times. If we get down to these previous liquidation levels of $42,000 or maybe a little higher, a little lower than that, I think that would be a good time to get back in. If we get back above the bull market support band and we hold that as support, I think that would also be a good time to get in. We're kind of in no man's land right now. But I do want to communicate the reason why for my confidence as to why we're not facing a 3-month mini bear market is simply our behavior now is not the same as May. Now, if you've been following my Twitter account, recommend following me, WW Bitcoin on Twitter. You know that I search long and hard for updated illiquid supply charts. And I'm going to, I talked about this on Saturday, but I am going to be able to get better real-time access to that information. But here's the update. And there's several things that we can look at: transfers to and from exchanges. Let's keep this very simple, okay? So illiquid supply. I fully expected when I saw this chart to see something similar to what happened in May. You know, the illiquid supply rose and rose throughout the year, peaked in April, and then steadily went down and then dumped really hard. And then it kept on climbing throughout June, July, August, September, October, etc. And so then we have this little peak here, and what I expected was another dump similar to May. And so when I saw this chart and saw actually, hey, the supply has been pretty much staying the same as far as how illiquid it is, I saw that as an encouraging sign. Does that mean we're going to shoot to the moon now? No, I mean, we could still crab and the illiquid supply could still rise, but I'm not seeing the same thing here. I don't see a panic amongst what do you want to call it? The smart money, the holders, the long-term holders, the whales. I'm not seeing that. I am seeing a good level, steady level of illiquid supply. And I'm reading reports today that a lot more Bitcoin is getting taken off of exchanges. And so we're still moving in the right direction. And here's another chart showing this. In May, we had huge inflows at certain points, 10.4K Bitcoin one day and 13.9K another day where it was around 10,000 Bitcoin, another day when it was about 7,500. We're just seeing lots and lots of inflows in May and then lots of outflows since then. And right now, I mean, we see 3.2K Bitcoin one day, 2K Bitcoin another day. But then we see other days, where we're seeing outflows. Right now, I am seeing today outflows of 10,000, multiple outflows of 10,000 plus Bitcoin. So let's keep it simple, guys. What are people doing? They're not selling. They're not. I mean, they're not transferring to exchanges in order to sell. They are holding. They are removing the cold storage. That's a good sign. And so maybe this whole thing's going to be short-lived. It's just we're in no man's land right now. I want more answers as to where are we going to go from here. I hate to say it, up or down. Are we going up or down? Micro bear market, maybe, or coronavirus. I don't know. There's just, this is of all days, of all times, or of all weeks, this is the time where we need to get some questions answered before making any bold declarations. And so I'm trying to keep myself tempered. Do I think we're going to go up? Sure. If I were to make a bet on that in general, I think a month from now, Bitcoin will be worth more than it is now. I think so. And that's all I'll say. Because in between then and now, sure, we could go back down to that liquidation point, or we could go back up to the bull market support band. But yeah, sure. A month from now, I believe that Bitcoin is going to be worth more than it is now. And last thing here, I mean, you can see long-term holders. We got this kind of double peak here, got to $67,000, and that's around when long-term holders sold a little bit of their position. I mean, listen, this is not much. We see little bits of their supply being distributed. That's what happens when we see peaks. It just happens. Short-term holders buy from long-term holders. New buyers buy from long-term holders. They distribute. And we've seen very small distributions. And then over the last week for long-term holders, that's pretty much unchanged. I mean, that is a small amount of Bitcoin that they have sold. So they're still holding, and on-chain is bullish, and we don't have this dark cloud of potential liquidations hovering over us. What we do have now is a potential for a short squeeze to happen. And so we'll see a short squeeze, a supply squeeze, a supply crunch, something like that. The squeezes, if there is a squeeze, are much more likely to happen in an upward direction than they are in a downward direction right now. So that's all I have for today. I have a busy day with my business. Christmas time is here, and this is the busiest time of the year for me. So I don't know what my schedule the rest of the day is going to look like, but I hope that you hang in there, hold strong. Again, not a great time to buy. Let's see what happens. $42,000 about there would be a great time to buy for your alt. Like Bitcoin's at $42,000. That's a great time to buy for your alt. Or if it gets above $53,000, because this is what happens again when we're under the bull market support band, is that alts bleed really badly. And so we see above $53,000, they're going to stop bleeding. They're going to shoot higher. We see it below $42,000 for Bitcoin, or at $42,000, they're going to be at pretty heavy discounts. So just, we'll see. Hold tight, do what you got to do. And last thing, if you're going to sell anything, if you have potential tax issues like what I'm going to be facing, oh man, from 2021, a good thing to do would probably be to sell the crypto that you're down on instead of the things you're up on, and, absorb that loss, so that you won't have to pay taxes on those things, and you'll pay less taxes on the things that you've sold in profit. Not financial advice, not tax advice. I'm not a tax professional. Do your own research, but I started doing that a little bit recently. So, all right, have a great rest of your day. I will see you in another video. Peace.